Every single year, it's a government shutdown in the US of A, or at least they're threatening one every year. I feel like this didn't used to be part of the narrative. I don't know. I wasn't like politically active when I was a child and a young teenager, but it really didn't seem like the government would threaten to shut down all the time until Obama became president. Strange. Anyway, so they're now threatening a government shutdown over trans people. It's always the issue du jour, whatever the issue of the day is. Today, it's trans people. We're going to be looking at coverage from Erin in the Morn, Erin Reed. Thank you so much to her. Always want to shout out and support her for doing this difficult work. So the House Freedom Caucus, which is basically like the coalition within the House of Republicans who are super MAGA. They're the diehard Trumpians. They're the diehard super racist, super anti-trans contingent. They've published a letter threatening a government shutdown, and they have a bunch of policies that they're like, we need to do these policies real quick right now. And some of those policies are restrictions on gender-affirming care, trans participation in sports, DEI programs, diversity, equity, inclusion is what DEI stands for, and defunding Planned Parenthood. So it's racism and sexism and transphobia all in one. They're like, we're literally going to shut down the government unless you start basically dismantling the rights of almost all marginalized groups, like trying to hit as many of them as possible. DEI is the new CRT. Diversity, equity, inclusion is their new critical race theory. They have to have a boogeyman of, oh no, you're not, if you teach racism or if you try to promote like racial equity, it's gonna collapse the country. You can't do it. You can't do it. Hey, real quick, hit the like button if you're enjoying the content. Hit the subscribe button as well and turn on all notifications. And also take a moment to check out the links in the description for merchandise and Patreon, where you can find exclusive free content. So according to an exclusive released by Axios, there are Republican sources stating that, quote, people are predicting a shutdown. Apparently one of the primary drivers of the shutdown is frustration related to gender-affirming care and abortion. So currently, Speaker Mike Johnson's negotiations do not currently include gender-affirming care policies, and that is upsetting some Republicans who've pushed for the inclusion of those policies in the budget. Biden, of course, has stated opposition to any bill that is going to contain those things. So I think Mike Johnson is trying to actually get some stuff passed because he knows that Biden is going to shoot down anything that has any overt anti-trans or anti-abortion stuff in there. But no, the House Freedom Caucus is like, excuse me. So here's the actual text of the bill, and I realize it's very, very small and you won't be able to read it, but I will read it for you. You can trust me. The House Republican Conference's significant work on appropriations for fiscal year 2024 resulted in 10 of 12 bills passed out of committee and 7 bills sent to the Senate, with hundreds of amendments considered and adopted. This has not happened in very many years. While far from perfect, the bills spent at or below the actual text of the Fiscal Responsibility Act offered a meaningful step towards restoring regular order and presented an opportunity to reduce spending and reverse many of the president's harmful policies. With the expiration of government funding rapidly approaching, negotiations continue behind closed doors, and as a result, we anticipate text for likely omnibus legislation that we fear will be released at the latest moment before being rushed to the floor for a vote. House Republicans should not be left in the dark on the status of the spending levels and hard-fought policy provisions. We request an update on the appropriations negotiations, including but not limited to the provisions supported by overwhelming majorities of Republicans and our constituents, such as language to prohibit funding, facilitating parole of millions of, quote, illegal aliens, reducing Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas' salary to $0. What? Who is that? Alejandro Mayorkas? Like, why are they specifically like, we want to reduce this guy's salary to $0? That seems very specific. Defund the Pentagon's illegal abortion travel fund. Okay. Prohibit funding for implementation of gun registries and red flag laws. Okay. They don't want any red flag laws. Oh, he's the dude they impeached, of course. Prevent unconstitutional expansion of background checks. Defund gender transition surgeries or, quote, gender-affirming care paid by taxpayer dollars. So they don't want it to be covered by any kind of Medicaid or Medicare. Block Biden's attempts to dismantle, demolish, remove, or damage existing border wall. Biden is building more wall. He's building more wall. Am I crazy? Are they crazy? He's been building more wall this whole time. They also have called for defunding Biden's radical Green New Deal climate change actions, such as the EPA electric vehicle mandate, EPA power plant rules, and each of the president's radical, quote, climate executive orders. Here we go with the diversity, equity, and inclusion. They want to defund that. Defund Dr. Anthony Fauci's, quote, gain of function research. I don't know what that means, but it probably means they want to stop researching anything about COVID. Prohibit rules requiring biological boys to be allowed to compete against girls in women's sports, and prohibit federal funding for schools that allow biological men to participate in women-only sports. Defund an anti-American international organizations such as the World Health Organization, the United Nations Human Rights Council, and the World Economic Forum. These people are off the deep end. Eliminate funding to the anti-Israel United Nations Relief and Works Agency that funds Hamas and the enemies of Israel. Yeah, of course they're going to add that in there. Prohibit purchases of American farmland by our adversaries like China. Okay, I don't necessarily disagree with that point, because I did just learn that a large amount of American farmland is owned by foreign investors, and it's definitely not good. But it's like worst person in the world is correct about something. Prohibit funding for Biden's student loan bailout schemes. Prohibit the Justice Department from censoring lawful speech. Defund policies and memorandums limiting ICE and CBP enforcement. Prevent billions of dollars being used to construct a new Pentagon-sized headquarters for the FBI. Halt Biden's absurd and destructive bans on gas stoves and other appliances. Do you have any idea how much worse the air quality is in your house if you have a gas stove? It's measurable. Defund Planned Parenthood, blah, blah, blah. Prohibit funding for COVID-19 vaccine and mask mandates across government, among other things. Prohibit funding for COVID-19. I'm gonna shit myself right now. These important policies are critical in securing the passage of bills. There are many other policies that Congress should not be funding, and a failure to eliminate them will reduce the probability that the appropriations bills will be supported by even a majority of Republicans. Yeah, they're just demanding that literally all social progress that we've had in the last 60 years be rolled back. That's all they're asking for. Don't worry about it. You know what? Listen, they'll pass the budget, okay? They'll pass the budget. You just have to roll back literally all civil rights. Literally every hard-won civil rights thing for the past 60 years. It's easy. It's going to be easy. It's going to be easy. You're already halfway there with Roe. What's the bet that this is just a pre-election advertisement bait? I mean, they obviously are not going to accomplish anything. They're obviously not going to accomplish anything. Like, Mike Johnson, as heinously evil as he is smart enough to know that he's not going to get a budget passed if they include all of this stuff in it. Not accomplishing things is their goal, to be fair. Yeah, I mean, that's fucking true. It's about performativity and, like, drumming up a disgruntled contingent of their constituents who they can then mobilize to action. They literally have stuff in there that isn't happening, like the gas stoves ban that never happened, or the border wall that Biden is actually building right now and not tearing down. They're insane. Yeah, it's crazy when like, someone accuses you of doing something and you're like, literally, like, I have evidence that you're wrong, and you directly address the point and debunk it. And then the next time you have the conversation, they just say it again, like you didn't correct it the first time, like as though there isn't actual facts and information that you can go look at and, like, physical evidence showing that they're wrong. They just are. It's like baffling to me. I just completely don't understand. It's about not getting anything done while Biden is prez, so that they can then blame him for nothing getting done. Oh yeah, Biden was so obstructionist. We tried to pass a budget and he wouldn't sign it. Middle Eastern investors own several 100,000 acres in the Arizona desert where they currently grow alfalfa to send overseas to feed their cows over there. It is killing the water table worse than it already was, and is a big part of why the Colorado stopped connecting to the ocean for like 9 months. The Colorado River. It's not xenophobia, just saying we need to really start controlling how much factory farms are allowed to water. I'm sorry, but it seems insane to me that a private individual or private corporation in another country can own American farmland and then be sending their shit back to their country. Like, I don't know what it says about me politically speaking, but that sounds insane, and I hate that it's possible. I guess it is a pretty nationalist urge to be like, that's American soil. Why is that not being used to better American lives? If Americans were using that land and farming up the alfalfa, and so it would still be bad for the environment and the water table, but if we were doing that and then we were selling it, it would feel less bad to me, but still bad. But it feels worse knowing that it's like foreign investors and that, you know, we're losing a lot and we're not gaining anything by it, except for the taxes, which we would be getting anyway, but it otherwise doesn't stimulate our economy at all. This is also what we do all over Asia and South America, like exactly this in South America. I mean, yeah, if we're doing this in other countries, then that's also bad. I don't think that America should own land in Brazil where we grow sugarcane with not slaves and then import the sugarcane here. All the downsides to your community with none of the positive. Jesus. So anyway, look forward to another government shutdown over wanting a ban on pride flags. Thank you to my patrons for being so patient this month. I want to thank especially Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvag, Michelle Frateroli, Amanda B., Wellington Marcus, Michelle Winter, Danielle McDonald, DZXN, Suzanne Maynard, Ella Nobody, Past Null Infinity, Spooky Heather Sylvia, Jamie Jam, Nova, Sojo, Elizabeth Bartell, Sarah A., Kevin Young, Athiet, Celeste, Desi Quiche, Liam Hodgson, and Mr. Atheist.